Welcome back to Parker Ponders, ladies and gentlemen. For all 20,000 of you listening to this, I wish you could see behind the camera. We have an incredible setup. There are, believe it or not, 60 individuals. Some running the sound, some running the lights, others catering food for all the employees, people scheduling appointments with presidents, ambassadors, content creators. It's a madhouse, but we make it happen. We make it happen for you, not for us, for you. So you're welcome. And yeah, we're gonna keep doing this. All 60 of us. We're in this to the end. And if anyone quits, then I'm gonna threaten their families. So they better not quit. They better not quit. So what a week it's been. It is a fun time of life. We just got out of the two worst months of the year. January has little redeeming qualities, in my opinion. And February just. It really, okay, here's what it is. January puts the knife in saying Christmas is over. It's the start of the year. Okay, January 1st is cool because you're hyped up and you're like, let's freaking get this year. This is my year. So the first week, okay. Afterwards, knife because you got all your responsibility, none of the play, none of the fun. And then February comes around, right? And not for everyone, but for those of us who are without love, okay, we're going to put it lightly, just twist. Just goes ahead and twists that knife in very deep, and we're left alone. Actually, we're always alone. We're just reminded that we're alone. So those are the first 2 months. And then there is a subtle sunrise beginning in March because we see maybe some shadows of spring. We see some hope for the future. We have some luck on our side thanks to the Irish. And things just start moving upwards. That's where we're at. And I'm excited because I get to go to Hawaii next week, which will be fun. So, little behind the scoop. I'm filming a video this week, and because you guys, if you listen to this, you know me pretty well, at least at this point, right? I know I said there's 20,000 of you. It's more like 15,000. And the 15,000 people that are watching this deserve to know firsthand that I, about 2 months, actually about a month ago, formally decided to stop pursuing medicine. So I withdrew from medical school. And that doesn't really have to do with Hawaii actually at all. So that was just a little nugget. I was just listening to a book today, okay? And a lot of people have probably heard of this book. It's called Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke. And gosh, what a book. It like is speaking directly to my mind. It's like it's saying all of my internal battles, not all of them, but a lot of my internal struggles with thinking, okay? And she is just like addressing each part of what I've thought. Some things I've even said here. One thing is talking about how I find it hard to pick a path because there's so many options, and by choosing something, you're not choosing everything else by default. And she talks about that exactly, that exact concept about, and really how to kind of confront that. I'm listening to this book. I am about an hour and a half in, but so I might talk about this more next week. I don't know, but I'm really loving this book because she was a professional poker player, and uh, I think she won like $5 million, which is a good amount of money, right? Uh, she talks about how life is so much, it has so much in common with poker. Often people will say life is like a chess match. I don't know if often, but we think of it as very exact. You do this, moving pieces here, and everything is laid out. But it's not really like chess because with chess, it's pretty much all skill. It's all skill. There's very few chances for a worse player to beat a better player because all the information is on the table in front of you. But with poker, there is a lot of unknown and a lot of uncertainty mixed with a lot of skill, mixed with a lot of probabilistic thinking. So that is a lot more comparable to life. We have so much unknown and so much luck that plays into things. There's we could do everything right and we get cancer at 25. We could do everything wrong. We could smoke our whole lives, drink a bottle a day, and never get cancer. The list goes on and on. Like her example is you can have the perfect hand. You can have two aces and you bet big on it. Now, honestly, I played poker a couple of times, but I don't remember all the hierarchy and the different hands that you can have. But two aces is the best hand you can start with. And so it's like you can make the right decision and you can still lose. So one thing that she talks about, which I love, is we often we often judge our decisions based on the outcomes, which can makes sense off the cuff. Like if something went well, then the decision that led to that was probably a good call. But often that is not the case because we can get lucky. We can get lucky. That's why life is not chess. We can, so like for example, you, um, like you can make the best decision and have it not work out. For example, Pete Carroll made this call in the 2015 Super Bowl. They had like 16 seconds left. They were facing the Patriots. They were on the Patriots 1 yard line. And Pete Carroll, the coach of the Seahawks, made the call for the quarterback, which I'm blanking on his name right now, to throw it when everyone said you should pass it to um, something Lynch. Football fans are gonna hate me, but you should have you should have ran the ball. But if you look at the stats of the season, there were 66 throws thrown from that similar area, and none of them were intercepted. But his throw was intercepted, and then they lost the game. And everyone was just ragging on him, saying, "You made the worst play call in Super Bowl history. You suck." But actually, from the probabilistic standpoint, he actually made a good call. It just didn't work out. And one of her main things is that she asks people, "What was the best decision you've made this year?" And almost always they say their best outcome, not their best decision. You can make a really bad decision and get lucky. You can drive home drunk and get home safe. Does that mean that that was a good decision? No, it was a good outcome. And so, and you can still make a really good decision and have a bad outcome. Like, I'm trying to think of another example where you can make a really solid decision and it just didn't pan out. Like, maybe you're looking for a new job and you interview with a company. They have the role you want, they have the benefits, they have the culture, they have everything, and then you get onboarded, you're there for a couple of months, and then you realize that you don't really want to do that anymore, right? Or the they changed leadership and you just really don't like your manager. You hate your manager, you don't get along well, and you feel stifled at work now. You still could have made the right decision at the time, but the outcome just wasn't quite what you wanted. And that is very applicable to life. Her main thing is that it frees us a little bit, and I think she's going to explore this more. But the idea that I've gotten to so far is that it frees us from this dogmatic right and wrong thinking. It helps us embrace the inevitable uncertainty that is so prevalent in life. And it allows us to just think in bets. That's why she said the name. I mean, she titled the book that way. So if we have, sometimes we have a choice ahead of us that has a 20% chance of working, but the payout is so big that it's worth taking the shot. Most startups fail, but because the upside, the potential upside is so great, a lot of venture capitalists will invest in startups still because they can have a huge win in one of the companies that offsets the 5 losses in the other startups. And it frees us a little bit from pride and also um, from thinking we're stupid for taking a certain risk or making a certain choice. So if you invested in some just altcoin on crypto that has no backing, they usually call it something specific, but I can't say it on YouTube, and it's not really my the audience I'm going for, but it's just a crappy coin, okay, and it just means nothing. It's just backed by really hearsay and hype. It's just like a culture coin. Really, that's what it should be called, a culture coin. And you can do that and win big, right? Dogecoin, you can win big. Shiba, you can win big. Bonk, ApeCoin, you can win really big because if you're in at the right moment and the hype gets spread, you can shoot off. Is that a good decision or bad decision? Well, I don't know. There's a lot of gray. And so the payout could be super big. Is that a good decision? So is it wise to invest 50% of your money because you could get 500%? Probably not. That's not a good decision because the chances of it working out past this very narrow window of time is quite low. Whereas, but you might win. And so everyone's call is different. You have to think in probabilities. So what she's saying is, like, if you make a bad decision, so if I put an 80% of my net worth in Dogecoin right at the bottom when it was just nothing, and then it soared 1,000%, which did happen at one point. It just soared. Okay, is that a good decision to put all my net worth in that? No, it's not. Is it a good outcome? Yeah, I got super lucky. And the same thing, like, if you're if you're making these decisions based on your current info, and you did your research, boxes were checked, you vetted the sources of info that you were getting, that you were getting info from, everything checks out. You're like, yeah, this seems like a good opportunity for me. It's in line with what my goals are. Other people have had good experiences with this thing. Yeah, let's go for it. And then it doesn't work out. Was it a bad decision? No, no. It just wasn't a good outcome because, if someone has a 80% chance of working out well, 20% is real, and you just experience the 20%. So I just have really enjoyed this, and it's a bit of a rant, but that's kind of what this whole thing is. And it's interesting to explore that idea because it frees you up a little bit from the arrogance and the retroactive shaming and thinking that you're stupid because you did something that didn't work out. And that ties into a lot of things in my life, but med school is a good example. It's like I made a really good decision at the time. It was in line with a lot of my career goals. I was enjoying it. I had the work ethic for it. I had the skill set for it. I was excited, and it was a good decision. And at the time, that was the right decision for me, going to med school. Now, things have changed. My interests have changed. My priorities have not. I guess they have changed, or they've become more clear to me. And I'll kind of get into it more in the video, but now it's not the best decision because I have new information. And it's like I played my cards the right way at the time. But now my cards have changed. And so I should take a different path. I should correct course and adapt. That's what life is. It's adapting. And so it just has resonated with me quite a bit. That whole concept of not thinking so much in terms of right or wrong decisions, which there are right and wrong decisions, obviously, but more often than not, we're dealing with option A, option other A. It's not option A and option C. Like, it's just different. Do we do this? Do we do that? If we do this, we're not doing everything else. So, I don't know. So it's definitely something to digest for myself a little bit more and work out those kinks of how can I apply this in a lot of scenarios in my life so that I can free my mind up from the what if. And one last thing that she talks about that I'll mention is how our beliefs are often in reality just based on what we've been told by people, and we don't actually vet them ourselves. So a good example is that if your mom's dad is bald, like the maternal grandfather, if he's bald, then I'm gonna be bald, which is like partially true, but it's a polyfactorial gene. It's a polygenetic trait. That's really what you'd say. There's a lot of genes that play into going bald, and like males that have bald fathers are also at a higher likelihood. So it's not like that true. That statement is not really true, or that dog years are 70 human years. That isn't based on anything. It's just been culturally. It's been a cultural propagation since like the 13th century. That's what she was saying. Pretty much everything that I've talked about in this section has been from her book. So if you're like, man, how did you know all this? I just listened to this today. But essentially, we just accept these things often and say they're true because we heard it from somewhere and they're probably right. But beliefs can and really ideally should be we get information, we vet it, and then we choose to believe it or not based on that information. And so as we go on in life, and as we get more and more information from decisions that we've made, from paths that we've taken, from priorities we've chosen, we can hone and tighten up those beliefs to be more correct and have a better gauge of what's going to work and what's not going to work. And that can be individual specific. So I think it just frees my anxiety a little bit from taking root in my mind when it's like, am I doing the right thing? It's like, well, you want to do your best, but like something that Mark Manson says is like, go after the thing you're avoiding or thing that you're dreaming of, because either you'll win and it'll be great, or you'll learn something really valuable. And that rings true to me, that if we can not be so attached to measuring our intelligence or self-value based on how correct our beliefs end up being after, or how correct our decisions end up being after going down a road, then it frees us up to say, oh, okay, I did that, wasn't the right call, but now I have more information and definitely not going to do that again. I'm going to go down this separate path. It makes it a little bit less emotional and a little bit less personal, that I'm an idiot, I should have seen this coming, why didn't I see this? It was written on the wall. An example, I was in college trying to be creative and earn money from different sources. So I went on to Alibaba, which we know well. A lot of people know of. So I am looking on Alibaba, and there's this screaming deal. Brand new iPhone 11, midnight green, 256 gigabytes. May have been 512. And they were selling them wholesale for $300 a piece. $300 a piece? Are you kidding me? I was going for like $1,100 at the time. So I'd be so stupid not to buy a couple and sell them on eBay and make double my money, right? That would be awesome. Which is true. That would be a really good decision, because there's no way you're going to make less than $300 on a sealed brand new iPhone 11 at the time. So I was like, I would love to. Do you have a minimum order? And he's like, yeah, 5. And I was like, okay, that's fair. Like, but I mean, that's a lot of money. $1,500, that's a lot of money. But if I sell these things for $600 a piece at the minimum, and they're probably going to go for $800, then we're looking at $4,000. We've gone from $1,500 to $4,000. That's what, we got 150% profit, I believe. Yeah, no. It would be like 250% profit. So, I'd have to. Yeah, basically you're doubling it and then 2/3. So actually like 266% profit. Be great. Actually no, because you're making 2,500. So you would be making 100% 133% profit. We got there. 133% profit. If I'm wrong, that'd be really funny after all that. But see, an example of just working through it. And if I was wrong, tell me. I don't think I am, but then I'll know. But 133% profit. Smart. Very smart. Decision. However, this goes back to that book, actually. Sometimes there are some unknowns, some things that we aren't aware of. And I wasn't aware, as a naive, happy, trusting individual, that scams are quite prevalent on the internet. I don't know if you knew this, but people scam you on the internet. And as we were talking, these guys were like, okay, we'll continue this conversation in WhatsApp. Makes sense. It's more comfortable for them, you know. So we were talking, and they say, okay, we need you to buy 6. If you can do 6, we'll ship them to you. And I was like, that's a lot of money, 1,800 bones, but again, a lot of profit margin there. And so I was like, okay, like how do I know that this is legit? Okay, and they said, oh, we'll send you a shipping label. We'll send you a shipping label. We'll show you right now that, like, once you, we'll show you the tracking order. Okay, and I was like, okay, that checks out. So I pay them $1,800. And now some of you are asking, well, you pay them in Alibaba, right? Because like eBay, if you're doing it in the website, then they have some security measures and some means of getting your money back and making sure that you're protected. Um, no, I just didn't. Okay, the camera just quickly shut off. I don't know why. I have 60 people here and they can't even keep a camera going, so that guy's fired. But so I don't know if you knew this, but people will scam with crypto. That's the thing. And at that point, only at this point, not the time when they wanted to communicate outside the platform, they wanted payment outside of the platform, not the time they sent some ambiguous shipping label, but at the time where they wanted me to send them $4,000 in Bitcoin. At that point, I asked myself, is this legit? And they said, yes, we've sent the funds. And I said, oh, actually, I said, I'm not going to send you $4,000 more. I already made an agreement with you. Going to get 6 iPhones at this price. So send them or I'll get my money back from Alibaba. And they said, oh, no, we're sending them. We're sending them. And they were very angry with me on the phone. I don't know if you've ever heard of scammers' demeanor, but they're not very happy with you. Which is kind of interesting because usually if they're trying to get thousands of dollars from you, you'd think they'd be like patient and fake kind, right? But they're very angry with you whenever you question them. No, you are very dumb. You are very dumb. You need to send us money. You need to send this money, and then we can send you your iPhones. And and they're very hostile, very hostile. So I said, no, I'm not sending you $4,000 in Bitcoin. And they said, okay, and I said, give me proof that I'm getting my phones. I mean, this is insane. They sent me this ambiguous shipping label, and I was like, okay, well, I better get them. And then, crazy enough, they never came. After weeks of waiting. Surely they'd come. They said they would give them to me, but they didn't. And I got scammed out of $1,800. Now, if you are like me, if you look back at that story and say, I think that you might have a mental deficiency, Parker, I wouldn't disagree with you. I wouldn't disagree with you. And I honestly can't comprehend it. It's a different person. The person who got finagled by these fools is not the same person talking to you with an insane camera crew behind them. It's just different. I literally can't get in his mind. Like, I can't understand why that made sense. Some things I can do that, but I can't understand why alarm bells didn't go off before I sent them $1,800. Which, by the way, Wells Fargo is a terrible credit card company, and they didn't give me back any money. So, I literally just lost $1,800. This is probably 5 years ago. Not, It would feel better if I was like 12. But no, I was in my 20s. I can't understand it. But I just didn't have the information. And I had these beliefs that were just wrong and just really naive information. And that is an expensive lesson to learn. I've had more expensive lessons. Like I said, I'm paying off med school debt, which is different, right? But sometimes those lessons can be expensive. But at that time, I thought I was making a really good decision. And you know what's crazy? There is a 2% chance that, not if they're asking you to communicate outside the website, but if I actually was getting those iPhones, it would have been a good decision. Based on the information I had, the decision to pursue the purchase was actually a good decision. Up until I had more information, which I didn't realize was critical information. So the whole point that I'm saying here is like, there is a separation between decision and outcomes. And we don't have to beat ourselves up even when it's very painful, which it was. It literally took me like a year to get over it. And even when I think about it, not so much now, I'm over it like totally, but for several years I'd look back and be like, dude, you're such an idiot. And I was also mad at like Wells Fargo because like it is fraud. I didn't get and I paid for a product that I didn't get, and I feel like they should cover that. Wells Fargo also gets so many fines. I would not do banking with Wells Fargo. But I understand, like, I did make the decision. I'm not here just like trying to make other people pay for my bad judgment. But because it was blatant fraud, it hurt. It hurt. So sometimes we just got to show ourselves some grace and say, you just didn't know what you were dealing with at the time. You were in over your head. And on the flip side, if we put in $100,000 in Dogecoin and it goes to $800,000 in a year and you're loving life, great. First of all, keep it in over a year. Don't withdraw because then you got to pay short-term capital gains tax. But that's awesome. It wasn't a good decision. It was lucky. You were very lucky. Which kudos to you. But you're not some genius, right? If you take out a HELOC for 500 grand and go put it on black in roulette in Vegas, that's not a good decision. If you win, amazing, but you got lucky. So it just puts into perspective. It has similar vibes to Outliers, how that book, how there's just like a lot of timing and luck involved in some developments in the past and in the future and in the present. Not really the future because there's no developments that have happened in the future. Anyway, sometimes you just gotta like realize that if you're gonna go in different territory than you're used to, if you're gonna take chances, you're going to fall sometimes. And you don't have to fall that easily as I did with the phones, but you're gonna fall, and that's just like par for the course, and that's okay. Hope everyone has a great week, and I'll see you next week. Peace.